Arena on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com.
This hour of The Sean Thompson Show is sponsored exclusively by DonleyAuctions.com. Get top dollar for guns and military items. DonleyAuctions.com. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios.
I love America. I love the Constitution. I love the First Amendment. I want to carry and all else. I love property. And let me tell you something. If you care about your country, read Ludwig von Mises and the 6 lessons of the Austrian Economic School, motherfuckers.
From the streets of Melrose Park to the trading floor of the Merc, he's fought for every dollar he's ever earned. And now, with personal liberty and our system of capitalism under assault in America, he's here to seize back our rights from the government. With a cigar in one hand and a copy of the Declaration of Independence in the other, he's Sean Thompson. And this is the Sean Thompson Show.
Some folks are born made to wave the flag. Ooh, they're red, white, and blue.
The market loves a government shutdown because the market understands something the public doesn't. Only about 22 to 28% of the government actually ever shuts down. The rest is on automatic pilot, which is why the debt increases millisecond by millisecond. Unbelievable amount of debt. However, there are ways to offset it. You don't necessarily have to be in gold or silver or Bitcoin, but it would help. You could also be in any stock that raises in conjunction to the lack of buying power of the dollar you work for. My next guest knows it's about the economy, market finance, opinions, real estate, personal finance, all put together strategically, which is why he is the founder and principal of the Alpha Wealth Group. He's my friend Tom Fortino. Tom, how are you?
I'm doing great, Sean. How you doing?
Well, it's amazing to watch, right? Because the continued stupidity by a certain sector of our society has no real definition of failure. And when you think an amazing statistic that 90% of our debt has been accumulated in 25 years. Unless this stops, it really isn't going to matter. They're going to have to figure out how to finance this, right?
Well, that's why we're seeing gold at approaching $4,000 an ounce. They're debasing currencies, and it's not just in this country. In fact, I saw this number. It was the Global Liquidity Index. They're saying liquidity has increased by 8% per year over the last 10 years globally. U.S. money supply is up 83% just over 10 years. So to your point, you're talking about Bitcoin and gold and these other silver. Silver has not participated as much. That's another discussion. There's maybe we should start looking at that.
Well,
but yeah,
silver's got big banking issues and big uses. Right. I mean, it's a conduit for electricity. Yeah. It's a little different than gold. Gold is really traditionally of value. You can't really use it. But silver, that at where it is could be game changing, could be imploding to different entities that have shorted it. Because the other side of the coin is there's a lot of naked shorts right now that are screaming.
Yeah, if you look at the chart too, and you can own silver, you can buy the ETF SLV. There's other ways to own it. Obviously, you can own it. Just like gold, you can own it as an ETF, and you can own physical. But yes, I agree. There may be some opportunities there on owning silver. And again, I don't see this government stopping, or the world's governments or these central banks stopping. And so you got to hedge. I mean, if you look at treasuries, there was do you know that foreign central banks now they hold more gold than U.S. treasuries? And there's obviously a reason for that.
Isn't that a secret? Are you sure you're supposed to say that out loud?
I don't think it's a secret, but maybe it is. Maybe they don't want the truth out. But you're holding a treasury, you're getting it's 4% to 10-year, but you're really going backwards. Your real rate of return could be technically negative based on the inflation, right?
Absolutely. Well, the other thing, too, you and I have talked about this. I talk about this all the time. When you look at the buying power of the dollar when you and I were born, or if you look at the buying power when your father was born, it's insane. And this is a political destruction of an economy where they pretend it succeeds. But I start every show. Everybody goes, how do you like? I start every show with the debt clock, right? Because the debt is the idea that Joe Biden added $9 trillion, which was the entire debt of our nation for 236 years. One freaking moron added that in 4 years. And you look at the debt to GDP, we're at 135+%. So we're bankrupt. And the argument has always been, especially by the economic illiterate, well, we're the cleanest dirty shirt. Okay, but I don't want a dirty shirt. And you know, Trump is a wonderful president. Thank God that he won. He can't turn it off if he wants to, i.e. the government shutdown right now. He can't even save us money. And you look at total federal, state, and local spending, it's $12.6 trillion. That's there's not enough money in the world. They're literally making it up.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at unfunded liabilities, and if you're a resident of Illinois, you can appreciate what we mean by unfunded liabilities. When you look at pension funds, think about Medicare, think about Social Security, all these programs that they haven't paid out yet. And we've got baby boomers, 10,000 a day, every day till 2029, turning 65. They've estimated unfunded liabilities at over $100 trillion. So this debt we're talking about doesn't even include that. And so, again, I don't mean to just paint a picture you can't do anything. Yeah, you still have to do some things to control what you can.
Well, that's why when your kids who are just out of college tell you, Dad, and I've faced this myself, what do I do? How do I? No matter what percentage it is, you have to get it out of the currency you work for. Because the currency you work for is not keeping up with the economic destruction that the politicians are perpetrating. Ooh, put that on the back of a shirt. But it's the fact. Right. And if you could go into sectors of growth, that's the beauty of what Trump's trying to do. He's trying to reprivatize and grow.
Yep.
So
yeah, I agree.
That's the tricky part. Right. But once again, what happens when the governments go bankrupt? It happens all throughout society. The people who thought that they were in so-called the middle, which I hate the class argument, but the middle, even the people who were rich start to drown in futility. Which is what I feel about our grand economic, macroeconomic economy. I feel it's at the point of futility. And I love what he's trying to do, and I think he can do it, but what are the odds when you step back and look at the broader picture? What are the odds when you have states like our very own that is willing to openly and bald-faced lie about their economic situation?
Yeah. I mean, it's a tough, he's doing the best he can. I agree with what you're saying. Look, they're saying he might raise over $300 trillion in tariffs. The DOGE, they've said, is maybe cut $200 billion. Maybe through this shutdown, he's even going to cut down more. He's doing a lot of things, and the best thing you can do is try to grow your way out of this as much as possible. Certainly reduce debt and reduce spending, and maybe they can do it. If anybody's going to be able to do it, at least stop the bleeding. I think it's Trump. So I think there's some things, but for the average person. That's why you got to be, as you were saying, Sean, in appreciating assets. That's why the stock market is where you got to be in some of this. Those are your options. You can buy real assets like gold and some other things along those lines. And then you can, you're trying to keep up with inflation. So you beat these numbers and your real return is on the positive side.
Well, here's the other thing, Norma. I had a cousin call me, and I should have had him call you. In fact, I'm going to have him do that when we hang up. But he called me because we've been, he's my cousin since we're diapers. Yeah. And when I went into real estate, he had bought a property, an investment property in a decent area, but not a great area, but Addison. And at the time we paid a quarter. We paid $250,000. So now he looks at it and it's worth, $410,000, say. And he's like, but I also have Tesla stock, and I have other stock that I had, and it's amazing how that has gone up. And I said, and the difference, right? No property taxes, you don't get taxed every year, penalized, no maintenance, no phone call the pipe broke. And I say this as a real estate broker. Real estate is a great vehicle and can be in a great area, but if you're in a humdrum treadmill area, you can't keep up. It's just an illusion that you made money. You factor in all the other stuff, you're far better off in niche stocks in very good industries of growth. And I say this as a real estate broker, but the fact is the fact. It's just a little more scary because you can't look at it and drive past it, right?
Yeah, I mean, the market and you have all this experience in the real estate market. It's just things right now are just upside down. You look at the supply of homes, you look at the sales numbers, everything. It's crazy right now. So real estate is a tough one, again, unless you come across something that's great. But again, it can be part of one of those assets, especially as an inflation hedge. But again, I think we come back to You got to position yourself in this market to try to get growth, to try to outpace what they're doing as they debase the currency. If you want to have, position in gold, but then some of these stocks you can look at, and I think there's going to be an explosion in some of these things, whether it's, you take a look at AI, okay, but beyond AI, look at some of these energy stocks, these alternative energies, Bloom Energy, Oklo, which is a nuclear, GE Vernova. These are all part of that play. Those are things that are doing terrific, and I think there's some upside. Even, you go to connectors, all of these things that are electronic connectors and different things that are part of this whole AI play.
Well, we have an energy shortage,
today.
Whether they talk about it or not. We have an energy shortage.
Absolutely.
And it's
they're building
self-induced.
their own energy. Yeah, they're building their own energy supplies.
Right, and
their data centers.
And in there lies a couple of different nuances, right? The energy sector is very, very interesting because it's now cheaper for companies to get started. It's cheaper to produce. It's cheaper all the way around, and that's directly because of politics. But when you look at the needs of these data centers, where I think it's obsolete before it got started, because now everybody's talking about it, right? It's the Joe Kennedy. When the guy shining my shoes gives me a stock tip, it's time to be out of the stock market, right? So everybody's talking about it, and they're not calculating that quantum computing, which destroys the demand by 95% of energy costs. So I think they could be late to the game. But what I think is interesting is the deregulation and the ability for American companies to combat the regulatory climate that really drove up the cost massively. So there might be actually it might look bad for stock market when it comes to energy sectors, but it's good for the ordinary guy, right?
Yeah, there's no question. The other thing, like you were talking about with deregulation, again, this is why this is where the game's going to be in this market. there might be some bumps in the road, of course, there always is. Like for example, with the shutdown, most of the time, over 60% of the time, the market's up during government shutdowns. But if there's going to be some,
it's called no morons in the way. That's how it's officially talked about. Yeah.
Yeah, Reagan shut down there's been 22 times the government's been shut down over the last 5 decades. Reagan shut the government down 8 times.
Yeah.
He had the greatest economy of any president. He had, in 6 years, not counting the 2 years he had to try to recover from Carter, his GDP was up over 5% a year. That's insane.
That's unheard of. Yeah.
With 8 shutdowns. So let's forget about it's going to be fine. Don't worry about it. If the market dips a little bit, maybe look for opportunities.
Well, and you beat the illusion, right? Government can't spend money. It can't. And when it does, when it employs people, it's an illusion. Whether you want to discuss value, it's irrelevant. But somebody who gets their economic life from the government can never really be a taxpayer. Sorry, it's just the truth. That entire economic life is a cost to the honest people who earn money outside of government. This is the argument I can't stand, because all of a sudden it gets, well, you want to get rid of the police. I'm just talking about the fracking economy. One's an illusion, the other one's an economy. So if we don't get private sector growth, then we're going to buy into the Joe Biden government spend money and we'll pretend it's an economy. And the beauty is, I think it's going to take off. But you have to hold those assets properly. You have to hold that, because the government is dying for people to die intestate. They're dying for you not to hold your paperwork and your assets properly. That's the most important aspect I think it's left off the table. So is it a irrevocable living trust or a revocable living trust? Which is the best way to go?
Well, you want to start with a revocable trust, right? And they said this is going to be the greatest transfer of wealth in human history. They're estimating $60 trillion from baby boomers down to the next generation. So the government, they want to get their hands on that.
You can be like Dracula among cheerleaders. They can't wait to get in there.
But you want to really make sure in the state of Illinois, the Tax Cut Jobs Act, they made it permanent, I guess, until the law is to pass. It's not going to sunset. So at the federal level, the estate tax exemption is $15 million a person. The state of Illinois is $4 million per person. That's it, and it's not transferable. So you got to remember, if you pass away and you're married, it's gone. You lose it. So that's why another reason you want to have a trust. You got to preserve your exemptions. You got to be aware of that.
Tom, we talk about it, but think of the mental sabotage to turn everyone into a slave. Here you are, you bust your ass, you're honest, you live on 50%, right? You play all your cards right, and you accumulate money. And you accumulate over what the government, they take it again. The rat bastards. At least put a mask on. All right, go ahead. I get aggravated when I think about it.
No, I'm just saying that's why you want to be. And the thing about one other comment I'll make about the estate tax in the state of Illinois, people say, well, it's $5 million. I subtract 4, I have $1 million that's exposed. No, doesn't work that way.
Right.
You go $1 over $4 million, they go back and drag in the $4 million.
It's called the Pete Silvestri. It's the Pete Silvestri. You end up tied to a tree in the forest preserve with your underwear in your mouth for $1 fracking dollar. It's sickening.
Yeah.
It really is, and this needs to, every kid should do this, Tom. I mean it. Every kid should start this. And it's revocable, right? So if you get pissed off, you revoke it.
You can change it anytime you want, but it stays out of course, the court systems in Illinois. It's totally private. It goes to the people you want, puts the people in charge. I mean, it's the cleanest way to start, and then you have to look at the other aspects of your plan and make sure you minimize the tax. And that's the best thing you can do for your family. I mean, that's something we do. We have a estate planning attorney. We do that as part of what we do. I'm an investment advisor rep too, but we make sure your estate plan is solid too, so you control assets during your life and then down to your children and grandchildren. That's what it's about. Keep the Washington-proof your estate.
It's either that, Tom, or when I was a kid working at my grandfather's auto parts store. I was a kid. They used to let me. They called it working. I'd run and get coffee, run back and forth. And back then they had released new Cadillac models, like the old Cadillacs. They brought back the Seville, they brought back the Eldorado. Here comes this portly little fat bastard in one of the brand new Sevilles, all dolled up with the gold package. He gets out. This is the late 70s. Who had money? Nobody had money, right? Everybody busting their ass. Comes in, he's got the pinky ring, the big chain. So he leaves. I told my grandfather, what's he do? What does he do? He's got the best job in America. I said, really, what's he do? He works for the Illinois Probate Court. Those scoundrels they're pocketing everybody's money. You die with one thing wrong, they get a cut of it, which is why it's crucially important to go to alphawealthgroup.com. Tom, I appreciate you making time. Yep. I truly do, and thanks for everything, and thanks for telling the people. Now, real quick, before we go, investment property can be held in a Roth IRA. Real estate.
That is a true statement.
I will never forget that. That came out in a conversation with you. Tom Fortino, thanks for always making time. I appreciate it.
All right. Thank you, Sean. Take care.
Thank you. You too, brother. We'll be back with your calls and comments.
This is the Sean Thompson Show, where Democrats are always wrong, Republicans are seldom right, and politicians are never, ever to be trusted. On